First at noon, the case against Casey just into our newsroom. The transcript of the Anthony family's attorney explaining to detectives why he was back in those woods just a month before Caylee Anthony was found there. Mike DeForest been reading through the conversation. Now joins us live in the studio with what he's found so far. Mike?
Well, Eric, this is actually a transcript from the Anthony family's private investigator. This was a private investigator who originally was working for Casey Anthony's attorney, Jose Baez. The private investigator ended his work with Baez and then went on to work with George and Cindy Anthony. And as we found out also, he was also working on behalf of Casey, even though he wasn't with the defense team. Now, this all surrounds a visit that Dominic Casey, this private investigator, made out to the woods where little Caylee's body was found. He was out there on November 15th, just about 1 month before little Caylee was found, pretty much about that same area just around the corner from the Anthony house. Now, in this newly released interview we just received about 20 minutes ago, the private investigator acknowledges he was not out at those woods just once, not even twice. Dominic Casey was out in the woods where Caylee was found 3 different times that month before little Caylee's body was discovered by that meter reader. Now, detectives asked this private investigator, why were you out there? And Dominic Casey, seen right here, gave some somewhat conflicting stories. At first, he said he wanted to check out that area because one of Casey Anthony's friends had mentioned that back in high school, they used to hang out in this area, drink some beers and stuff, and this was just a high school hangout. But then the private investigator acknowledged that the day he went out to those woods on November 11th, he received a telephone call from a psychic, and that psychic gave him some very specific details of where he might find Caylee's body. Now, this visit out to these woods was videotaped by another private investigator. Dominic Casey, the first PI that you see in the video, acknowledged to the other PI he had received a tip that little Caylee's body might be out in these woods, but he did not tell the fellow PI that it was from a psychic. He was embarrassed that he was checking out a tip from the psychic. But that's his explanation why he visited these woods not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. We don't know exactly how close this area was to where little Caylee's body was found, but we do know he was in that area and showed some extreme interest and did not pass this tip on to law enforcement. Another interesting thing to come out of this that we're just going to be looking into, but the night little Caylee's body was discovered, George and Cindy Anthony, the grandparents, were out in Los Angeles doing a television interview. They flew back to Orlando, and instead of staying at their home that night, they stayed in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, a very expensive hotel. We're now finding out that a producer with ABC News was with the Anthonys the night they were in that hotel. We're going to get to the bottom of what that arrangement was coming up as we pour through these documents. Mike DeForest, Local 6.
All right, Mike, thank you for that. Tony Pipitone now on the desk here with us to answer some questions we all have about this case just a day after we got these hundreds of pages of new documents, discovery in the case against Casey. What else have you been able to uncover here?
The one item that was found by detectives is still raising questions today. It's some writing in a diary that was found in Casey's bedroom. Some are trying to say that, and the tabloid media are in fact reporting, that the diary entry was made in 2008, after Caylee went missing last June. But the evidence released so far not only does not support that conclusion, it suggests there's no way Casey wrote that entry in 2008.
It's a book you might find in any teenage girl's bedroom, a colorfully bound diary containing the adolescent musings of a girl on the verge of adulthood. Open the book found in Casey Anthony's bedroom, and you see right there, 03, indicating the diary dates back to 2003, when Casey was 17. Every day is a brand new beginning, someone writes in red ink. Now look closely at the inside spine of the book, and it appears some pages have been removed from the book. But look at the first page remaining, and you see a date of June 21, written in the same color ink as the 2003. So why would anyone assume the same girl, now an adult, not even living in the house on June 21, 2008, would write an entry 5 years later in the same ink in the same book? Tabloid media have made much of the diary entry, but there is no evidence suggesting these reflections about having no regrets and being so happy were written by Casey in 2008. Consider, June 21, 2008 was the Saturday after Caylee disappeared. Local 6 tracked Casey's cell phone during those crucial weeks and reviewed thousands of pages of discovery and found there's no way she could have made that entry in her bedroom on that day. Her cell phone shows she did not go anywhere near the bedroom on Saturday, June 21, 2008. All her pings that day were from near her then-boyfriend's apartment in Winter Park. And her mother, Cindy, told investigators she was home that day and Casey was not, that Casey told her she was in Tampa. Phone records show Casey made or received 6 phone calls from the house that Saturday, but again, was never near the house.
So what is written on that June 21, probably 2003, has no bearing on the case except to show the state of mind of a 17-year-old girl during her last summer before her senior year in high school. But much was made of this last night on Nancy Grace and the tabloid media, like, oh my gosh, she wrote this about regrets and her child was missing and maybe dead. Just nothing to it.
Okay, and Tony Pipitone looking into this, have more throughout the day here on Local 6. Next newscast at 4 o'clock. Tony, thank you.